Welcome to today's webinar, courtesy of the Kentucky Small Business Development Center right here in Louisville. We're all about hooking you up with free, super secret business coaching and training services. It doesn't matter if you're just dipping your toes in or gearing up for a big expansion. We've got the goods, the tools, and the know-how to help you win. To get the scoop, cruise on over to LouisvilleSmallBusiness.com or hit us up at 502-977-5800. Big thanks for tuning in to today's webinar. Feel free to drop your questions or chat it up with our speaker using the chat feature. Let's dive in.
Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining me on another Toolkit Tuesday. I'm Dave Beck. I'm the director here at the Louisville Small Business Development Center. So welcome. Good to see everybody. And I'm also, as always, I'm joined by my good friend and coworker, Janet Flaw. Hello, Janet.
Good afternoon. Hi, Dave. Good to see you.
So as always, just to make sure that everything's working fine and you can hear and see us, if you wouldn't mind, just look at the bottom of your screen there. You should see a toolbar right down there. And if you don't, take your cursor and kind of hover over and it should pop up. There you'll see the chat feature. It'll just say a little chat. Just click that and then type your name in there, tell us where you're joining from and say hello and that you can hear and see us okay. It's always great to see where everybody joins from. That's my favorite. This is my favorite part. So there's Thomas. Hey, Caitlin. Frankfurt. Hey, Caitlin, how are you? Karen and Goshen. Goshen is a cool little town. Love it there. Love it. I was just there the other day. You're very lucky to be there, Karen. Yeah, so got to say hello. If you wouldn't mind, let us know where you're at. I can see there's a bunch more folks out there, so don't be shy. Raj from Louisville. Hey, how are you? Herb, also in Louisville. Here we are. Good to see everybody. Thanks for joining. Awesome. Great. Thank you so much, Herb. So anyway, let's we've got a great guest today. And whenever you're launching your business or you want to grow your business or you're looking for a new opportunity in your business, look like for products or services, it's always prudent to plan. And part of the planning process is finding information and understanding what's out there and who you are targeting. And there is no better place to find good, accurate, and free information about demographics and a whole menu of other things than the U.S. Census Bureau. So we are lucky enough to be joined by our good friend, Tim Sarko, who is a data analyst, data scientist with the U.S. Census Bureau, and a lot of other titles that I can't tell you right now because of that. And so Tim, you out there waiting?
Yep.
Hey, Tim, thanks for joining. I'm going to let you introduce yourself a little bit better than I did, but you are the keeper of a lot of information that folks can use to really grow their business and do well with it. So let's just turn things over to you. If you want to go ahead and share your screen and let's dive in so everybody can see what you got for us today. And as we go through today's presentation, if you have any comments or questions you'd like to ask Tim or me or anybody, just put them in the chat. We'll be keeping an eye on that, and we'll either kind of stop and answer them there, or we'll wait till the end, whatever is best. But we'll get all your questions answered because this is a good opportunity to really have a little bit of a dialogue with a specialist in this, and so take advantage of this. So Tim.
Hey everyone, I'm Tim Sarko. I'm a data dissemination specialist with the U.S. Census Bureau, and today I'm going to be talking about the Census Business Builder. It's version, we went through several versions already, so this is version 5.6. The outline for today, I'm going to talk about this briefly about the Census Bureau, and then I'm going to go into some of the stuff, some of the surveys and programs, namely the American Community Survey, the Economic Census and programs. That's what a lot of that goes into the Census Business Builder. And then I'm going to talk about the census build. I'm going to give a tour of it, some of the key features and the data sources. And then I'm going to actually demo the Census Business Builder, and then some resources for learning more and any kind of questions that you would have. So about the Census Bureau, a lot of people don't know that we conduct more than 130 censuses and surveys each year. We do, of course, we do the decennial, once in a decade population and housing count in the United States. We do the American Community Survey. It's an ongoing annual survey of the nation's population. We do a census of governments. It identifies the scope and nature of the nation's state and local government sector. And we also do the economic census. It's the official 5-year measure of the American businesses. Our mission is to serve as a leading source of quality data about America's people, places, and economy. This is the American Community Survey. It's the nation's most current, reliable, and accessible data source for local statistics on critical planning topics, such as age, children, veterans, commuting, education, income, and employment. It does survey over 3.5 million addresses each year, and it's responsible for over $675 billion of federal government spending each year. It covers over 40 topics, supports over 300 evidence-based federal government uses, and it produces 11 billion estimates each year. And it's important to know that it's released twice a year, every year, as 1-year estimates. Those are for populations of 65,000 or more. And it's released as 5-year estimates. Those are for small populations, basically for all geographies. These are the data topics that you can get data for from the American Community Survey. So you see, it's broken down by social, demographic, economic, and housing. So for example, if you wanted to know what languages does people speak in Louisville, what language do people speak at home? What's the educational attainment in your city or town? How many veterans are there? We got any number of economic data topics as well, such as, what industries and occupations do people work in? What's their median household income? How did they get to work? How long does it take them to get to work? And then we have a number of housing characteristics as well, such as how old are the homes, how many people rent or own their homes, how many vehicles do they own, how many households have access to broadband, and many others. This shows you this is our geographic hierarchy. It shows you the ACS, the American Community Survey data, is available all the way from the nation down to the block group level. So if you think of a census block as a block in your neighborhood, then if you put 2 or 3 of those blocks together, you get a block group. Then similarly, if you put like 2 or 3 or 4 of those block groups together, you get a census tract. A census tract has an optimum of about 4,000 people. So you can very easily get any of those data topics that I showed you for example, for all counties in the United States, or all zip codes in the United States, or if you wanted like all census tracts in Jefferson County. At the block level, that's only 2020. You're only going to get 2020 census data, basic demographic data. So from the block group up is when ACS is available. And this is what I talked about. The ACS is available as a 1-year estimates and 5-year estimates. The 1 year is 12 months of data. The 5-year is 60 months. The 1 year is for populations of 65,000 or more. And basically the 5-year is for all geographic areas down to the sub-neighborhood level. The 1 year has a smaller sample size, so it's less reliable than the 5-year. The 5-year is more reliable because it's bigger. The 1 year is more current, the 5 year is less current. So if you have like a Jefferson County, something that's 65,000 or more, then you have to decide, do you want to be more current or more reliable? You know, do you use the 1 year or the 5 year? Most times when you're looking at a certain geography, if you're looking at like census tracts, you have to use the 5 year. Smaller counties, you have to use the 5 year. But if you have 65,000 or more, then it's your choice to use the 1 year or the 5 year. The 1 year is best used when current data are more important or for analyzing large populations. The 5 year is best when precise data are more important or for analyzing small populations. This is the American Community Survey and Market Research example. An automobile company wants to understand the different characteristics of communities around high-performing and low-performing dealerships. The ACS tells businesses about potential customers. So are the residents of different age, sex, or family size in these locations? Have changes to employment or earnings changed local household budgets? Maybe rent and utility costs are impacting budgets as well. Are new residents part of the demographic that doesn't drive? Do residents speak a different language? Does the dealership need signs or products promoted in the other languages? Is a rise in computer internet use providing opportunities for new ways to reach customers? So here I have average family size by census tract in Jefferson County, Kentucky. You can see that the darker blue is where there's larger average family size, for example. Also, within the Census Business Builder, we have county business patterns. County Business Patterns is an annual series that provides subnational economic data by industry. So basically, the Census Bureau does an economic census every 5 years. And that's 4 million businesses nationwide that we do the census on. And every 5 years, when we do the economic census, we update county business patterns. So it's basically a ledger of all single and multi-unit businesses across the United States. And what you get from county business patterns, you get the number of establishments, the number of paid employees, and then you get payroll data. It doesn't have revenue data. So for example, here I have grocery stores in Jefferson County, Kentucky. You can see that there's 218 grocery stores, and then it gives you a breakdown by employment class size. You can see, for example, there's 133 with less than 5 employees. And there's actually 3 with 250 to 499 employees. And the annual payroll is 178 million, and the number of employees are 5,944. And you can get this down to the zip code level with county business patterns. And these are establishments with employees. We also, in Census Business Builder, we have non-employer statistics. They provide data for businesses that have no paid employees. Businesses with no paid employees make up 75% of all businesses in the United States, but they account for less than 4% of the receipts or revenue. So if you want to get the big picture, you can use the county business patterns and the non-employer statistics together to get the big picture of what's going on in a county, for instance. So if you look at like Bullitt County, you see that grocery stores, there's 5 non-employer established grocery stores with no employees. And they account for $234,000 of revenue. And you can see how that compares to Jefferson and to Meade and Oldham. So I can put that together like Jefferson has 83, and then you can look at county business patterns, there's 218. So in reality, there's over 300 in Jefferson. We also have the economic census. The economic census is done every year that ends in a 7 and a 2. So it's done every 5 years. We're actually still getting the 2022 data from the economic census. It's still coming out. But at the county level, you get the number of establishments, the receipts of revenue, and then you get payroll and the number of paid employees. It also gives you non-employer data as well, the number of establishments and their revenue as well. And you can go down to the zip code level, and where you get the value of basically you get the revenue and the number of establishments. So here's the economic census, some of the data that I pulled. This is just by sector. I could have went down to the actual industry level, but for just purposes here, I just went to the sector level just to show you, and this is just in the United States. So you can see you get the number of firms, the number of establishments, the revenue, annual payroll, first quarter payroll, and the number of employees. And the reason I did this is because the 2022 economic census, since it's so big, 4 million businesses nationwide, it's still coming out. So later this year, early next year, the actual data down to the industry level will start coming out for the individual counties. Everything that we do, especially in like when Census Business Builder, depends on your NAICS code. We do on census.gov, you can easily go on census.gov and click on NAICS code. It's on the top. Click on the NAICS code tab, and you'll be taken to this screen. And basically, you can type in any NAICS code you want or a keyword. Here I typed in restaurants. It'll give me all the NAICS codes that correspond to the different types of restaurants. So here we have delicatessens, you can see, and then we have full service restaurants, and then you go down to carry out restaurants and so forth. It'll also give you the definition of whatever industry you type in. So here it tells me what full service restaurants are comprised of. Actually, when you order and you're served when you're seated. And then it gives you some cross references as well. So the Census Business Builder, it's easy to use. It's customer focused. It provides access to census data and more from it has BLS, it has USDA and other third-party data in there as well. It leverages existing census investments. It also has the Esri, and we use the API. It uses the latest technology, uses the cloud, and it's, of course, free. So when you go to Census Business Builder, you can either search for a location. You can type in like Jefferson County, Kentucky, or you could take a tour. So that's the first thing you'll see. So the tour will walk you through the core functionality of the application. So when you go into the tour, it'll take you through each and every step, and it'll give you some information on each step. Or if you want to jump to a certain section of the Census Business Builder, you can easily do that as well. The key features of Census Business Builder, they have the dashboard. you can see down here, we have the dashboard, and it gives you some data on the dashboard. Here it's showing you the total population for Ohio, a geographic ranking of according to population, and then it gives you some data on this dashboard. And then you've got the region view. You can make up your own region. You can compare different counties to each other. You can compare counties as cities and so forth. You have industry clusters. You can customize your industry if you want to. You have map variable options. If I wanted to change the map variable, right now I'm on total population, so I could easily change the map variable to whatever I want. I'll show you that in a minute. You can filter things. So if I wanted to see only the states, for example, that have median household income of 70,000 or greater, I can easily set a filter for that, for example. You have map buttons. You have the map legend, and then you have reports. You can create a report, which I'll show you in a minute. The reports, they have interactive charts. You can customize, you can bookmark them. You can have a single or multi-geography reports. So you can build your own geography of, let's say, 3 or 4 counties, and then the report reflect those 3 or 4 counties. Or if you're just on a single county, then you can get a report for that county. And you can build your own region. So option 1, you can build a region of 2 geographies of the same type. So you can take 2 counties, 2 or more counties, whatever you want, and build your own region. You can also, option 2, you can build a region of 2 or more geographies of 2 or more types. So say, for example, if you wanted to compare Jefferson to Louisville, different types. In the option 3, you can build a region using your pre-built regions, and that would be using your pre-built regions. Those are there's different. I'll show you that in a minute, but there's different pre-built regions in there, like weather station, different things like that. Now, the data sources for the Census Business Builder, the demographic and the socioeconomic and housing data come from the American Community Survey. The business data come from County Business Patterns, and non-employer statistics, the economic census, and the survey of business owners. The import and export data come from the International Trade Program. The workforce data come from the quarterly workforce indicators, which is from the Census Bureau. The building permits come from our building permit survey. You can upload your own data via Excel, and we have consumer spending data from Esri. The agricultural data come from the Census of Agriculture. And then we have an employment and related data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, namely the quarterly census of employment and wages. So this is the Census Business Builder, and it's version 5.6. So I'm going to go ahead and show you. So you've got the overview, and if you can look at webinars about the Census Business Builder, and there's help and frequently asked questions, and there's known issues and comments. And then it gives you the key features and different things like that. So I'm going to go into Census Business Builder. So as I said before, you can either search for a location, so you could type in whatever you want, or you could take a tour. The tour, as I said, you can see that it tells you in every step. So if I click next, it says you can search for location here. You can look for geographies at any level, state, metro, county, city, zip code, or census tract. Then if I wanted to, let's say I wanted to know more about building my own region, like jump to that section. And it says clicking this banner opens the region view. So, and then it shows me how to step by step how to build my own region in it. So it's very straightforward, very easy to use the tour. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in Jefferson County. So I'm going to choose Jefferson County, Kentucky. And there we go. So you see, I'm waiting for the dashboard to populate, but you can see right away that Jefferson County, Kentucky has 31,934 business establishments. And I don't have a secondary variable selected yet. And from the dashboard, you can see it gives you a geographic ranking. And this is by county. So right now it's on the number of establishment, the business establishment. So you could see that there's 31,000 in Jefferson, and then how that compares to Fayette has 14,000, Boone has 5,778, and so forth. You can also look at a time series for Jefferson. You can see how the number of establishments has changed basically over the past year by quarter. You can also look at a geographic comparison, and that's comparing Jefferson County to Kentucky to the United States with the number of establishments. Under stats, you have some data here. You see that the median household income in Jefferson is $66,000. Percent high school degree or higher, 91%. And then you see all employer establishments, 20,000. That's coming from the county business patterns that we do. It's telling me there's 20,000 businesses with employees. And the home ownership rate is 62%. So these, if you click on any of these, you have the choice to make, if I wanted to make median household income my map variable, I'd click on the star. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So now the map repaints itself according to median household income. And you can see where median household income is higher in the darker blue. Oldham and Spencer are the higher ones. You also, if you click on these, you can also change the variable. If you didn't want to see the number of establishments, 32,000, you can change that to whatever variable you want. If I wanted to see languages, for instance, languages people speak at home, I could change that variable to that. So you have the ability to change your map variable and then change it on the dashboard as well. So let's see. So now you can also switch to region view. And then you click on the pencil to edit your region. Now, you can select additional geographies from your region by simply clicking on them, or you can use the shapes. So I usually leave it on here, but if you wanted to use these shapes to capture more areas, you can do that. So let's say I wanted to make my region, we'll say Jefferson, Floyd, and we'll add Clark. So we made a 3-county region here. And then we hit the checkbox to close that. So now you see that my dashboard is now reflective of my new region. I got Floyd, Clark, and Jefferson. I can change counties here to look at the different counties. It does a comparison when you make a region, it does compare. Here it's comparing Jefferson to Floyd with what was on my dashboard. You see the number of establishments, percent high school degree or higher. If you wanted to compare with a different county, you just click on the 3 dots. Now I'm comparing Jefferson to Clark. You can also look at the top imports. These are the top imports for Jefferson County. And finally, you can also get a report, which I'll show you in a minute. This particular report would be for these 3, it would be these 3 regions combined, these 3 counties combined. So let's say I was interested in a particular industry. I'm gonna use restaurants as an example. Let's say I'm looking at the possibility of opening a new restaurant somewhere in the Louisville metro area. So I click on the Custom Industries tab. Now I can enter an industry by typing in the industry name or the NAICS code. And that's why I showed you before, if you're ever, wondering what your NAICS code is, you can go to census.gov. On the top, it has a tab for NAICS. You can type in the topic, or you can type in the actual NAICS code. It'll tell you the definition of that NAICS code. It'll tell you what's comprised in that NAICS code. It'll give you cross references and everything you need to know. So for my case here, I'm going to use the Edit Industries button. And I'm going to use, as I said, I'm looking to open a new restaurant. So I'm going to choose restaurants. And you can see it tells me that this NAICS code is 722511. So I'm down to the industry level. So I chose restaurants. Now we're still on median household income, but now I'm in the industry of restaurants. So you can see that there's, for example, there's 713 restaurants in Jefferson County, and there's 56 in Floyd. You can actually click on the map. Actually, I'm a median household income still, but I can change my variable. So let's say I want to look at all employer establishments. So I want to know, what's my competition? And where's my competition? So I'm going to go to Businesses Annual. let's say I'm going to go to all employer establishments. So now I can see that there are, I'm going to make this smaller. There's 615 restaurants with employees in Jefferson County. And you can see that there's 82 in Clark, and then so forth. You can see there's 26, for instance, in Oldham. So you also, when you do the variable, you also have the option of selecting a secondary variable. So let's say I wanted to know which county has the restaurants that have the greatest revenue per employer. So I want to know, where are the restaurants that are making the most profit. So I'm going to go to key ratios, and then I'm going to go to average revenue per employer. No, I shouldn't have done that. Let's see. Let me go back. I'm going to go here. I was not in the second. I didn't do the secondary variable. So I'm going to do key ratios as my secondary variable, and I'm going to do average revenue. So now I can see that if you look at Jefferson County, you've got 615 restaurants, and they have an average revenue of basically 1.3 million per employer. But if you look over here, Clark County has a higher revenue per employer. So their restaurants are at 1.6 million, but there's a lot less. There's only 82. So the restaurants are more profitable, it seems, in Clark County than in Jefferson, but there's a way more due to the size of Jefferson County. And you can see that reflected in the legend as well. So just to show you the variables, what you've got here is you got consumer residents, the primary category. That is all the ACS, the American Community Survey data. So you got total population, percent male, female, the different ages, working age, median age, and then you got the different races. Then you've got your socioeconomic characteristics from the ACS, median household income, average income, bachelor's degree or higher, household size, poverty, disability, all the way down to vehicles and what languages people speak at home. And then you've got any number of housing characteristics as well you can choose from. Average housing value, median selected monthly owner costs, rent, how median year structure built. So that's consumer residents. That's all the ACS data that's in the Census Business Builder. Then you've got a category, primary category of businesses annual. If you look right now, we're on employers. A lot of this is coming from county business patterns, which I showed you, the economic census, and the non-employer data as well. So you see we have all employer establishments, total employment, annual payroll, revenue. And you've got some that are grayed out because these percent minority and stuff like that's coming from the survey of entrepreneurs. It's available at a sector or subsector, not available for this particular 6-digit NAICS code. And then you've got agriculture. If I was on an agriculture related NAICS industry, these would be available. Then you've got non-employers. These are coming from the non-employer statistics that I showed you. You got the number of non-employer firms and their revenue. And then you've got any number of key ratios, which I showed you the average revenue per employer. You've got the average employment per employer, payroll, average revenue per employee, average revenue per dollar of payroll, and then total number of employers and non-employers and total revenue. Next, you got the primary category of businesses quarterly. This is coming from the BLS, the Quarterly Census of Employment and Wages. So you've got basically the number of establishments and then employment and wages. And then you've got level change, which basically tells you the employment change per quarter and the total wages change. And then you've got percent change, which the number of, and it's not available for this NAICS code, but the number of employment changes and different things like that. And then you've got location quotient as well. And that's just comparing, it compares your location to, say, the United States. Then you've got the workforce, and this is only available for if I was on a 2-digit, a sector, or a 4-digit NAICS code. This is coming from the Census Bureau's longitudinal household dynamics program, where you get basically employment separations, job gains, job losses, and average monthly earnings. And we also have in Census Business Builder, we have building permits. And basically, I think they put this in here because building permits are an indicator of future growth. So if you wanted to take a look at, where, has a certain location taken out a lot of building permits, as indicative of future growth. And then we have consumer spending. This is the ESRI data. So you can see basically we have basically what people spend on, what households spend on everything in here. You can break down every category. Here's beer, wine, apparel, how much they spend on education, entertainment, you name it. And then you have jobs. And this is job creation and job destruction, only available for certain NAICS. And then you have the opportunity to upload your own variables. You can upload a CSV, and it walks you through how to upload your own variables to the map. So let me close that. So right now I'm on all employer establishments and total and average revenue. So if I wanted to look at, let's say I could set a filter. I want to know only those counties that meet a certain criteria. Let's say, I'm opening an upscale restaurant. So I want to know those counties that have a median household income of, let's say, 70,000 or greater. So I'm going to add a filter. I can add up to 5 filters. So I'm going to go to socioeconomic characteristics, and I'm going to use average income. And then I'm going to tell it, I want the average income of roughly, it's hard to get right on the dot, but I'll just put around 70,000. Let's make it like 75,000. So you see now it grayed out the counties that don't meet that criteria of 75,000, meet an average income of 75,000 or more. So I can see all these counties are now gone, and I'm left with these. And as I said, you could set up the 5 filters. So let's say that let's say I want to know where people, in my case, I'd want to know, where do people spend the most for dining out? So I'm going to go to consumer spending as my secondary variable, and I'm going to say consumer expenditures for housing on dining out. So now I could see that, for instance, Jefferson County has 615 restaurants, but they have they pay like $1,651.90 on dining out. And if I look at Oldham, only has 26, but they paid $2,498 for dining out. So again, less restaurants, but they're spending more on dining out. One second. I'm going to delete this variable. And then I'm going to go here. So that you also have here, you can reset the map extent. You can change the reference layer. Right now I'm on counties. You can also change it over here. And here is you can change your base map as well. And then you've got your legend, which you can change the classes from natural to quantile or equal intervals. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna zoom in. So as I zoom in, you can see that these will become available. Right now I'm at the city. I want to so I can also switch to zip codes. And you notice what happened when I switched to zip codes, my map's pretty much grayed out here, because what goes on is most of the economic data is not available at the zip code level. Basically, it goes down to the county level. So when I go sub-county level, I'm losing a lot of it's going to be all American Community Survey data. So I'm going to switch this to total population. I still have a secondary variable. Oh, I don't want the secondary variable. I'm going to change my primary variable to, there we go. So now I'm on zip codes, and I'm still looking at the zip codes and I'm still looking at the median household income, average household income, I'm sorry, of per zip code, but the zip codes that don't meet the 75,000 or more are grayed out. So, in my case, maybe I'd want to look at some of the, maybe I'm going to serve alcohol or whatever. I want to know at my restaurant, where are the most 21 and over. So now I'm looking at zip codes, but I'm looking at the population of 21 years and over. So you could see that the blue is where there's higher populations of 21 and over. Also, you could look at different things like vehicles, foreign-born housing. And one of the things maybe I'd want to look at too is maybe I want to look at present with, if I want to advertise on, for example, if I want to advertise on the internet, on social media about my restaurant, maybe I'd want to know, where the zip codes would have the highest percentage of broadband internet subscription. And finally, I'm going to go to, I'm going to switch back to county. No, I'm going to go here. Go back to county. And I'm going to go back to Jefferson County. So I'm back to Jefferson County. I'm looking at still with the broadband, but I just wanted to show you, you can print a report. I'm going to click on report. And this tells me that my region, which I made, was Clark, Floyd, and Jefferson. So that's what this region is comprised of. Gives you the map, top imports, top impacted industries. So now we have the ACS data. You could see that it gives me the ages, the males, females, and the different races. You can actually click on these and it'll bring it up on the right here. Then you've got your socioeconomic characteristics from the ACS, your education, income, all the way down to languages people speak at home. And you've got your housing characteristics coming from the ACS as well. The number of housing units, vacancy rate, rent, and so forth. Then you've got your business summary. So here's your employer businesses, and it gives you a breakdown by employment class size. And this is coming from the county business patterns, the economic census, and so forth. Then you've got business revenue. This is coming from the economic census. You've got the non-employers data as well, the number of non-employer restaurants and their revenue. Then you've got your beginning of quarter employment, hires, separations, and that's coming from the quarterly workforce indicators. And this, we've got the quarterly businesses. This coming from the BLS, the quarterly census of employment and wages. It gives you like employment change, location quotients, and then total wages, average weekly wages. And then you've got your building permit data coming from our building permit survey. You can see, for instance, there's a lot of one unit buildings, as well as 2 and 3 and 4 unit buildings. And then you've got your business comparison. So it's comparing your different industries here, as far as all employers, all non-employers, total employment, payroll, and revenue. And then you've got your key ratios. And this is what I used on the map, average revenue per employer. And one of the things I would look at too is the population per employer. If I was opening a new business, maybe I'd want to see, you know, what's the population per employer, and of course the revenue for employer as well. And then you've got your consumer spending. This is coming from Esri. So basically we got consumer spending for everything: food, healthcare, and transportation, and so forth. And then just about the data tells you. So that's the report. So you can go to census.gov, and before which slash it's Academy, census.gov. You can go to Academy. There you can bring our data experts to you. You can request a free data training if you want. You can receive our data gems, which are a 2 to 3 minute videos that how to use a data tool. They explain data. They're very, very short and very informative. You can get access to our courses. You can learn at your own pace with these video tutorials. And you can interact with our instructors via webinars. So you can learn about our data releases and tools while attending these live virtual classes. And thank you. Does anybody have any questions?
Tim, that was great. That was a lot. Man, you guys have really improved this thing, and there's so much there. It's crazy. It's overwhelming.
Yeah, it changes. I would say, you know, if I go in there a couple weeks from now, there's something new in there. They're always updating it.
Yeah, that's one question that I have often thought about and kind of worked on a little bit. But since this data is compiled periodically, you know, like some is annual compilation, some every 5 years or so,
Yeah.
is there a way to, without doing a lot of work, just being kind of a lazy guy, is there a way to automatically do like a trend where you can look at the data side by side over time? Like I can see where maybe I want to start a, I don't know, well, just like your grocery store example, and I want to find a county that seems to have a trend in economic growth, you know, that I can see. Like if I look at just the data from today, it might not look like that much, but I can see that the trend, you know, that it's trending over time. in the right direction, and I want to get there before the competition. Does it do that, or do I have to pull old reports and kind of put it all together?
Some of the Census Business Builder does a little bit of the of cross time. It'll give you some data, not a lot, but if you want to go deeper, you'd have to pull that data.
Okay.
You'd have to, you can go to data.census.gov and pull whatever data you want and do a comparison. But if you're doing like the ACS, you can compare year to year.
Mhm.
But if you use the if it's a smaller county, then you're stuck using the 5-year estimate. And you want to
Yep.
make sure you do the 5-year, don't compare overlapping 5-year estimates. Make sure they don't have any years in common.
Okay. So we got a couple questions from our good friend Dave Sauerbach, who owns the Sauerbach Family Drive-In in Oldham County. So check it out. So he'd like a little clarification. So he asks, are the non-employer businesses owner operated, but the owners are just not paid with W-2, or is there a different distinction with that?
I don't, I don't know that much about that. I know it comes from business. They get it from business income tax records.
Okay.
That's where that data is coming from.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah, I would guess that some businesses, especially smaller ones, they sort of technically have employees in a way, but they're paid like as a contractor, like a 1099, like remodeling businesses. We see that a lot. So maybe that's the case, Dave. I don't know.
And the thing with that is when you look at something like, I will use in my talks in the past, I've told people, like, if you want to open a nail salon, you look at county business patterns, they may tell you there's, let's say 50 nail salons in Jefferson County. But if you look at non-employer statistics, there may be like 5 times that many. So, you kind of have to use county business patterns and non-employer statistics together to get the big picture of what's going on
Right.
in a particular area.
Dave also asks, there is obviously a ton of info available. Are there report templates already made to facilitate gathering data on the website versus building a report himself?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
Or is there already built report templates for like commonly searched for data sets, I guess?
Now, the only thing really in Census Business Builder, you click on report, it'll give you a report of whatever area,
Mm-hmm.
in whatever industry you're currently researching. But just like I showed you, when you click on report, it'll give you a very thorough picture of what's going on as far as all the data sources are there when you click on report. But I mean, that's as far as what we have.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's see now. Tranika asks, can use this to look up the trash issue in the town also. I'm not sure. Maybe you can clarify a little bit more for us there.
I mean, basically, we get these kind of things where you have to have like a NAICS code. You got to figure out what that is, and then you could do that, because we have people, like, for instance, years ago, we had a person in one of my talks. He was opening up what do you call those places where they have coffee and cats?
Oh, yeah, the Cat Cafe, yeah.
So those were the big things, like, let's say like 10 years ago. And, I had someone say, hey, what's my business? Where Wi-Fi? I said, well, you have to go to the NAICS code and figure out exactly what you are, what it is. And then you'd be able to look it up in Census Business Builder.
Mm-hmm. That's a great example, because sometimes those the NAICS code just doesn't really fit with what you're doing.
I know. Yeah. And especially nowadays when they come up with new stuff like.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I do love a good cat cafe. I mean, the one on Bardstown Road, I go there. So yeah. Okay, let's see. There we go. That's about all the questions we have. Tim, this has been great, so when you, this data here is all free and it's just, readily available, and it's just kind of amazing how much you can do with that. So I really appreciate you sharing everything with us today, Tim. And I encourage everyone to get back on that site, take the courses, learn a little bit. If you're putting together a business plan, this tool is key for your analysis. So,
Yep.
Tim, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you.
This has been great. Janet, thank you for running the ship as always.
Thank you. Just a reminder, we recorded today, so we'll send that out to everyone tomorrow. So you can go back and look closely what Tim was doing and kind of do that on your own as well. So
Yeah, this is one of the webinars that we do that really need to be watched 2 or 3 times, because Tim, you are a man of data, that's for sure.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, thanks everybody. Thanks for joining today, and we will see you on next week's Toolkit Tuesday. And if you just hang on a second, we will have a survey pop up, and please take that, because that helps us out and helps us move forward in a good way. So thanks for joining today. Tim, thanks again. And we will see everybody next week. Have a good Tuesday.
Thank you. Take care.